Hello everyone. As part of my academic tutorials, today I'm going to share with you how to create an ERD using ERDPlus. ERDPlus is a database modeling tool for creating entity relationship diagrams, relational schemas, star schemas, and SQL DDL statements. So it is online. It can be used anytime you want, and it has features in creating an ERD. So today we are going to have a problem and we are going to try to create an ERD using this ERDPlus database modeling tool. So considering that we have this business rule, you're working on a database for a community extension program. An organization conducts community extension programs to several communities. Each program has several activities which are participated by different participants. The data requirements are as follows. An extension program is uniquely identified by its extension program code. It has an extension program name, description, budget, and fund source. For each extension program, there are many activities. An activity is uniquely identified by its activity code, activity name, description, recipients, budget, collaborators, date, and venue. A participant is uniquely identified by its participant ID, name, sex, address, marital status, and organization. A participant can participate in several extension program activities, and for each extension program activity, it should have participants. After every activity, the participant rates the activity in terms of timeliness, relevance, organization, and they can also give additional comments. So we're going to make an ERD for the Community Extension Program database. So when creating an ERD using ERDPlus, you're going to click this try it button, and then it will show you this workspace in which you can have your different symbols. So as we can remember, the first thing that we should consider in creating database is to design using this entity relationship diagram. So in creating the entity relationship diagram, we should consider the business rules. After that, we're going to think of the different entities involved in the database scenario. So in our case, our entities are extension program, we have the activity, we have the participant, and we have this rating of the participant. But let's think if it's really an entity or it's a relationship. So now let's start on how to create these entities using this ERDPlus. So first is you click this button and then click here. It will allow you to name that entity. Is it weak, regular, associative? And then we'll have another entity. We'll have another one. Now we have these entities. These entities are extension program, participant, and activity. These are called strong regular entities. And let's now consider adding attributes to these entities. So you can simply click this one and add attribute. So going back to our business rules, we could have our attributes for the different entities. So the extension program, we have attributes like the extension program code, let's name it EP code. It is unique because it is the identifier. And we have the other entity. The other one is the P name. We have the description. We have the budget. And we also have the fund source. Now we can drag this down, rearrange this one. Okay. So these are the attributes for the extension program. Now let's go to the participant. Oh no, let's first have the activity. So for the activity, let's have the attributes. The first one is the activity code. So we'll name it as act code. It is unique. Then we have another attribute, which is the activity name. We have here the description. We have here the recipients. We have the budget. And then we have here the collaborators. This activity collaborators is in extension programs, this could be multi-valued because there in one extension activity there could be more collaborators involved, so you can have multi-valued attribute for this one. And we have another entity. The date. And we have the venue. Okay, so now we are set for the activity. So just rearrange it if you want. You can rearrange it again so that it could be more visible. Now let's go to the participant entity. We're going now to add the different attributes for the participant. So for the participant, we have here the identifier. Oh, I'm sorry. So you can delete it if you have done wrong. And then for the participant, click this one and then add attribute. For our attribute, we have participant ID, so we'll name it PID. And then we have another attribute, so we have the name. The name could be a composite attribute because it could be first name and last name. You could also break down the attribute into first name, last name, middle initial. So for now, let's have composite. Let's add a component attribute. We have here the F name, add attribute to composite, and then we have the L name, and then we have the middle initial, which is optional. Then we can drag this down here, and then we'll go back to the participant and add attribute. We have the sex, then we have another attribute, marital status, and the name of the organization where they belong, or sector. And then we will have PID as our identifier. Now we're set for our participant. Let's arrange this. Let it will not be so crowded. So this ERD is created following the chain notation. Can put it here for it not to be so crowded here. Okay, so we have this attributes for each entity. Now let's go to the relationships. Okay. Relationships are the associations of different entities. So we are going to answer the question, how is this extension program related to activity? So for that, we have an extension program has different activities. So for the relationship, we could create a relationship between the two. This one here, a relationship, and then we're going to name it. Relationship are verbs. So extension program has activities. Is it identifying? If it's identifying, it is an association of a weak and strong entity. Okay, so the entity 1 is the extension program. As you can see, there is a line here. And for our entity 2, we have here the activity. So they are now related to each other. Let's move this one. And let's go back to the relationship. What's good with ERDPlus is it can set the constraints if it is mandatory, one-to-one, optional, or one-to-many. So in our case, an extension program has different activities. For it to be called an extension program, it is having these activities. So it could be mandatory here for the extension program. And one program could have many activities. So we have here many. On the other side, an extension activity could not exist without the extension program. So this is also mandatory, and one activity is for one extension program. So that's why we have this one. So we finished the relationship between extension program and activity. Now let's go to activity and participant. How is this activity related to participant? Okay, so activity is related with participant through the relationship participation, since participant participates in the activity. So if we're going to read, this should be left to right and top to bottom. So if we're going to connect this one, and we'll move this activity. Okay, can move. I'm sorry, I'm not really good in statics, even in here. So we have here this participant. We're going to make a relationship between activity and participant. So this relationship, and then participant participates in the activity. Okay, and then a participant should participate in one activity for it to be called a participant, and a participant could join in many activities. And on the other side, an activity should have participant. So we have here mandatory, and one activity could have many participants. So all in all, the cardinality ratio of activity to participant is many to many. Extension program to activity is one to many. Now we have the relationship between extension, activity, and the participant. But we still have one data requirements, that is the rating of the participant to the activity. In the participation of the participant to the activity, it is expected that the participant will rate. So we can add the attributes here to the participates. So you can have attribute. Here we have the rate. We have the rating of participants in terms of relevance or relevance. We'll have another attribute here, our timeliness, and we have another one, are in terms of rating, in terms of organization of activities, and we have also the comment or the suggestions. So we could connect this one here. You should start with the relationship before you can connect. Here, here, and this one. So we are all set for our ERD. So we created an ERD for our extension program database. So we have these entities, we have these attributes, and we have this relationship. By the way, you can export what you have done in the ERDPlus through this button. We have here the export image with transparent background and high resolution. And then you click save. And there you go. You have this image. So you can submit it if it needs submission. So that's the ERDPlus tool. It is simpler to use, and it has also its export feature that can allow us to have images. So that's all for this tutorial session. I hope that you learned something about how to use the ERDPlus in creating an ERD, and also I hope that you learned some tips on how to create this ERD in terms of entities, relationships, and the attributes. So that's all for now. See ya in the future tutorials. Have a nice day.